Michael. They try to cancel him. And by the way, I had some interesting conversations because, even with people of the black community. So there's a video that leaked that basically said, it was a compilation of Joe Rogan saying the N-word with a hard ER. And it dropped at convenient time, and it was then, publicized or tweeted out by India Irie, who basically said this was unacceptable and said she was taking off her music off of the site because of that. Now, there's so many different things going on, and it's very important to understand what's happening. I keep telling y'all this is an attempt to continue cancellation culture. We've seen Dave Chappelle beat it. They wanted Netflix to drop him, to remove his specials. They said, fuck no. And they said, we're sticking by our guy. Now, Spotify, who I also have an exclusive podcast deal with, so I'm I'll give my bias out there as well before I say this. They're trying to be squeezed to not be like Netflix, which means they're not going to stand by somebody who they have direct contract dealings with. They want that person canceled. So at first they come with the weak ass COVID misinformation thing. It's very interesting that these days the new thing is controlling information. Because how else, if people are, it's a free, they said like the world is meant for like free thought, and in this country it's free speech, but if you have a big enough platform, you have to say the right things because you have influence, which is okay, whatever, cool. So this whole thing about the vaccine, the Joe Rogan and a lot of people that he fucks with is very skeptical of it. So they started there. They said, well, he's spreading misinformation by interviewing certain people, and it's gonna have a huge detriment on like just society. So CNN been talking about him for a while. Now let me give you the optics. So reportedly, there's 11 million people that listen to Joe Rogan every episode that he drops. He drops about 2 to 3 times a week. So if we think about it, about 34 to 35 million people that listen to him weekly. If you think about a CNN program that might even air, say nightly or let's say once a week, most of those, and even the most successful shows on CNN, usually they have less than 1 million listeners an episode. Which, if you think about cable TV compared to a podcast, that's crazy. 11 million to sometimes 500,000. That's a 22 times, his audience is 22 times that of CNN or a regular CNN show. They don't like that. It's a reason why if you look at Congress has had, when Trump lost, they had a bunch of news and social media outlets in hearings because they're realizing that the power these days isn't on these paid media platforms like TV and radio. It sometimes might be on a blog page. It sometimes might be in a Facebook group. It sometimes might be a podcast. So they're trying to regulate, social media. They've been trying to regulate how Twitter, how Facebook and Instagram deal with people getting information, because people are getting more and more information on Facebook and Twitter. I can even tell you something right now, which, I'm going through with Instagram as well. Recently, for whatever reason, and it's interesting, I usually don't even post stuff about like the government, but there was a topic that was really going viral within urban communities I posted about. And it's the topic of the Biden administration approving certain stuff to help people and people that might be battling addiction. And some of it's like, hey, we just want them to be safe if they are going to do certain stuff. It was put out by Fox News that they might be handing out crack pipes. I think I reposted that story. A quote-unquote independent fact checker, the story went viral on my page, 10,000 comments. They flagged my page to say that the story, quote unquote, isn't true, even though I got it off a news organization site, which is Fox News. But really, I'm a pawn in a bigger fight. CNN, Fox News, everybody else, they're fighting over who gets to give information, who disseminates it. and they drag Facebook or Instagram or Twitter into court every couple of months to say you can't let this person, you have to moderate how information's getting out. So they flagged this thing on my page on Instagram, and now like I forgot how much time it's gonna be for. But now, if you don't follow me right now on Instagram, my main page, when you click on my name to follow me, it says this page is posted false information, which is ridiculous. Like, I'm not making shit up. I just copied and pasted. But really, that came from, I believe, Fox News. There's these independent fact checkers, all type of stuff going on. CNN is beefing with Fox, but really both of them are losing to podcasts. So then they had to focus on podcasts because the biggest outlet in the world is Joe Rogan. So if you're on Instagram or Twitter, remember when Trump used to tweet, they'd be like, yo, just slap something to say this isn't verified by fact checkers, or this is the truth, or this is going on Twitter or Instagram. But that, like, they would basically put something over your tweet to say, don't listen to the tweet, this is what's going on. Which, by the way, defeats the purpose of you tweeting at all. But how do you deal with a podcast? Well, you could get YouTube to remove them. YouTube recently has been removing and slapping on stickers with anybody who mentions certain things. For example, when it comes to politics, you're going to get flagged. That's why I used to do videos on my thoughts on politics. I stopped. I used to do YouTube videos. I stopped. The world has gotten so politicized that they play politics on social media. They play politics on YouTube. It's not meant for you to have your own opinion, because if you're popular enough, you could sway votes. Now you're this independent entity swaying votes for whoever, and you're fucking up the establishment. So they're pressuring YouTube and Google and all these places to control motherfuckers who have influence to do that. So here comes Joe Rogan. He's on Spotify. He's still interviewing the same people, getting crazy amount of views, but nobody could check him. The initiative right now is everybody got to get the vaccine, this and third. And even though they say it's a free country, really, they don't want to challenge. They don't want to, they don't want questions about it. They're like, hey, it's one of those things where the government always have up their back pocket. We scream that we're in a free country, but at the end of the day, at certain times, they could take your freedom away, right? Like, it's a free country. It's a free country. I got my right to privacy, but let a plane hit a tower, they take all your shit. They can look through your shit at any time, right? So they reserve the right to take it when they want. So this pandemic is a perfect time to take it. Yo, we don't want you motherfuckers to be questioning the shit that we say is going to fix everything. Now, again, some of the questions are bizarre. Like some people who believe like, yo, they're going to inject a chip. Okay, you motherfuckers are stupid, right? But there's certain people who have legit questions like, damn, y'all told us like the motherfucking vaccine was supposed to stop us from spreading it, or was supposed to stop us from getting reinfected, or we were supposed to have these less symptoms, or blah, 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 you know what I mean? And really what's happening with this whole, pandemic shit is nobody really knows the answer. Like, we're kind of dealing with it day by day, because like when this whole vaccine thing came about, nobody was like, oh, you're going to need like 15 boosters. But now they come out with a new strain every week. They're like, oh, we might have to get a booster. And then so they're like, oh, well, actually, the new strains ain't as bad as the old strain, but you still got to wear a mask, and you should still quarantine. Like, it's all type of shit. So really, we're learning day by day. But the government is realizing, because it's losing shit ton of money, and first of all, the government, inflation's at an all-time high. They're giving out money to people that people could still live and listen to their rules in terms of quarantining, or these jobs can't open. So now they just don't want people to fucking question what they got going on, because they're too far in the hole, right? So along with that, and these other media outlets pretty much catching an L, they are mad that Joe Rogan pretty much is just asking a bunch of questions and also exploring these ideologies or these theories. I'm not saying I agree with any of them, but that's what he's doing, okay? His platform is too big, so they want it to be controlled. They basically told Spotify, they came to Spotify with 270 doctors, or however many amount of doctors. They said Joe Rogan's show is spreading misinformation. You need to do something about it. And remember, I just say what happened to me on Instagram? If I leave for a certain amount of time, they slap a little thing. If you hit the follow button, try it, okay? Says, you sure want to follow this nigga? He posted something false recently. What was false that I posted? I posted something that was on a website. But for them, that's a politicized topic. I'm not a political outlet. I post music, I post news, I post rap beef, right? But because of that one post, they've now just categorized my page. Now I'm talking to a few people, trying to see if we can get it cleared up. But you see what information is coming to. The government is getting scared that the CNN, Fox News, and all these mainstream outlets is not what's controlling people's minds no more. It's podcasts, it's blogs, it's all these other things that how do they control? So they're trying to put a squeeze on these things, and then when you get to Joe Rogan, you get to Spotify. So now they said to Spotify, yo, you got to fix this. You're like, what are you doing? Spotify is like, well, we kind of checked it out, and we don't want to like silence free speech. So, he's open to say what he wants to say, and we don't think that he's purposely or have spread misinformation that could cause anyone to be hurt. Okay, so that comes down. That wasn't gaining no type of steam until an artist pulled their stuff off of Spotify, and that was Neil Young. Now, again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but some might be like, it's a very interesting timing. Some people might be like, he was in on it with whoever, the establishment or whatever, because the timing was good. That happened. Joni Mitchell started, and then kind of like paused a bit, and people were like, well, no disrespect to Neil Young and Joni Mitchell, is like, well, is Drake gonna pull his music off? Now, here's the thing about that whole hysteria. Neil Young is an older artist who does have control of his catalog. I'm pretty sure he either negotiated or somehow got control of it later on. Drake cannot pull his catalog off of Spotify. Just cannot. He doesn't own it. Okay, it's owned by Republic, and after they've given you all them hundreds of millions of dollars, they reserve the right to monetize it how they see fit. Now, could they do what Chappelle did and kind of like make the labels look weird in not doing what they want to do in terms of like, yo, I want my music on Spotify. If Atlantic or Universal keep my music up there, please don't support them. They're racist, blah, 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 blah. They could come in a narrative to force the hand of the company. But in essence, YoungBoy can't say take my music on Spotify. Okay, Meek Mill can't say do it. Taylor Swift could. Taylor Swift, she's in a really unique position with her music that she could she owns the newly recorded music. But the majority of musicians, they don't own their music. They don't own their catalog. They don't own their masters. They don't own some of the publishing rights to it. They can't really determine where it goes. And if someone who has paid a good amount of money for them to be in a record contract or for them to record these music, they can't tell where it could go. However, that is the threat. If a Drake could pull his music off Spotify, then Spotify would be in a bind, right? Okay. So that didn't really gain any traction because in reality, Universal owns part of Spotify, I believe. Like Universal, like they're in bed like on some business shit, right? So it would be cutting off their nose to spite their face. Why would they take their top artists off of there when they're gaining money from the shit, right? So they're not really going to do it. It would take these random artists like a Taylor Swift or some other artist who has enough social clout currently and enough music clout currently to make an impact. So not Drake. Like, I ain't gonna lie, Jay-Z could, right? But I think Jay-Z didn't have his music on Spotify for a while anyway. Beyonce could, but Beyonce always had her music on Spotify, right? Cool. So it would need those people. So it's an actual threat, but it's not like, it's gonna really happen because most of the artists that we care about, Billie Eilish, The Weeknd, Meg Thee Stallion, and the rest of them, they don't control their music. It's controlled by the companies assigned to them. So, since that's not working, you know what this whole thing turned into? And this is what I realized, this is just about trying to silence Joe Rogan. This turned into, well, he's racist. Okay. Now, I'm black, and it's Black History Month. You ain't gonna catch me defending no motherfucker who is not black, who has made any comments about black people. I'm not that type of person. And I'm not no person you throw out there to be like, yo, coddle everybody by just saying no. Hey, everybody should stand accountable for what they have said, despite when the timing is. By the way, I understand that those comments were old. They were old. The compilation of Joe Rogan saying the N-word just was old. It was before recently. Some of them was 8 to 10 years old. But again, I guess he never faced that controversy, whatever it is. The timing to me is whack, but hey. Cool. Now, for me, we just got to pick what issue we're doing it, right? So if that's the thing, hey, let's see if you can hold him accountable for these comments. Cool. But you get to realize you're just shifting the bar. You're just not happy this guy has his platform. No matter what he does. And by the way, he tried to apologize and he came back on again. And I want to salute to India Irie because she actually said, I accept your apology, which is cool. It shows that she's not a part of this whole thing to try to get rid of Joe Rogan because of his platform. She just really had a racial issue that she probably was like, no, I need to fucking put this on the table. Now, here's the other thing that seems starting to circumvent and start to get up there. For the rest of the artists who are like, they weren't that triggered by the comments or the N-word usage back in the day. Okay, and by the way, I do have to be very fair to Joe Rogan. His usage of the N-word was him quoting other people. So he wasn't calling black people the N-word with the hard ER. He was quoting other people. Now, I will say there's a very wild clip. When I mean wild, where he's telling a story, which I think it was just a tasteless trash joke. And he said that, something about black people in Africa, because, he went to, some hood, and he called it, Planet in the Apes. He was like, I hopped out the bus, and, he said he saw all black people. He was like, this is like Planet of the Apes. It was tasteless, and honestly, definitely has racial elements to it. So I definitely agree with that. But the N-word thing was him, trying to quote people, which, again, I think he learned quickly, or should learn now. If you're gonna quote people, say N-word, okay? Don't say the actual word. Anyway, yeah. So that happened, but now the new thing they're trying to do. They're saying, well, they're now jealous of the money he allegedly got for his licensing deal. Well, why do we get paid? This is what the artists are trying to do now. Oh, well, why do we get paid pennies on the dollar? Because when people see shark, and that's the thing, Joe Rogan apologized pretty much twice. He explained himself twice. When they see blood in the water, the sharks all come. Why does he get paid $100 million for his podcast and we get pennies on the dollar? It's always going to be something. But I could answer that very eloquently for all you artists who have a problem. Here's the thing, and I'll even use my podcast as an example. I own my podcast. I can put it anywhere I want. I own the masters of it. It belongs to DJ Akademiks. I do an exclusive licensing deal with Spotify to say them and them alone could put that podcast out. When it's on their network, we co-own it. When it's on their platform, we co-own it. It's a licensing deal. It's multiple years. If Drake wants, I believe, $100 million from Spotify, he could get it. If he's told Spotify, I'll deliver my next 2 albums exclusively to Spotify. It won't be on Apple, won't be on Amazon, won't be on Pandora, won't be on all these other places. Only to Spotify. Spotify would gladly give me $100 million. By the way, they tried this already with exclusives. Didn't Drake say he got money for the release of If You're Reading This Too Late a week early on Apple Music? And he also launched a fucking radio show. Got 20 or 30 million. Something crazy. Remember he said he turned down the title thing? Yeah. You know what happened when that happened? Drake, who's the biggest artist in music, humbly and quickly found out he doesn't own his music. Because the person who owns the biggest label, so Drake is signed to Republic, and Republic is part of the UMG brand. The president of UMG, which is Lucian Grange, he said, we're not doing no exclusives. Drake never did that again. Apple Music never did that again. Drake doesn't own his music. It's owned by Lucian Grange. So for the musicians who are crying, you got to own your shit. You could do licensing deals, but you got to own your shit. And a lot of y'all know how it goes because there's 2 sides of music. There's a royalty side and also the publishing side. Y'all none of y'all own y'all masters for the most part, unless you're on just a distro label. Most of y'all don't own y'all masters. But you do own some, hopefully all your publishing. And you know what all y'all do? Y'all sign away big publishing deals. That's exactly in a bubble what's happening when people put their podcasts exclusively somewhere. When you sign away your publishing, and you know, artists do this after their first couple big hits or first big album, and they get the upfront check, and it's like, yo, $5 million for the next 2 projects or 1 project, whatever the case is. Or it's like $5 million for the back, whatever it is, or $10 million. Sometimes it's a lot of money. You're getting paid that someone could monetize and benefit. Like, for example, Kanye did it. Kanye's publishing is not owned by him. That's why when Kanye tried to retire, he was about to get sued. Because a part of the deal, when he took the money, it said he had to continue to make music for a while. So the whole point of what I'm trying to say is that when musicians start crying about, yo, I'm only getting like this % per stream, you have signed a record deal to a record label that have agreements with Spotify, and the breakdown goes as per. Spotify could play your music to people who pay a premium fee and people who don't pay at all. You know why Apple Music pays more than Spotify? Simple answer. Apple Music don't let niggas listen to your music for free. Spotify do. Spotify just plays a commercial after a certain amount of listens. If you want to get paid more on Spotify, demand Spotify to stop letting niggas listen to your music for free. But you won't, because you look like the bad guy. You know why YouTube pays the least? Because that's where all YoungBoy, not playing. I'm playing. I was going to say that's where all YoungBoy fans are. I'm playing. But you know why YouTube pays the least? Because they don't require anybody to pay to listen to your music. You want to get paid more by YouTube? Demand YouTube only play your music to people who play, to people who pay. But you won't, because you look like the big bad wolf, because you're showing off your jewelry, your cars, your houses, how much money you got. It looks selfish of you to say to your fans, if you don't pay, you can't listen. But it sounds better if you look at the streaming service and say, give me more because you're so rich. They're only paying out based on the deal your label, who owns your music, signed with them. Spotify can't give more, can't give less. Apple Music can't give more, can't give less. You all have an opportunity to license your music. Just own it first. Just own it first. Okay? So in the IRE, when you talk about pennies on the dollar, you don't own your music, clearly. Or if you own it, how about licensing it? We're getting a new era of music where people are trying to put NFTs and all that shit with it. You guys could license your music. Take your music off of another platform. I guarantee right now, Michael Jackson estate could probably get $500 million if they take every Michael Jackson song off of everywhere and only left it on Spotify. That's how you get the check. But your shit can't be everywhere. You're a thought. You don't have a value. And when I'm talking about thought, I'm talking about just obviously like your art just being everywhere. The point is this: complaining about how much money Joe Rogan gets is not the same as what you musicians are doing. And do I agree that Spotify and other streaming services are built on the backs of musicians? Absolutely. That's exactly why you should watch what they're doing with podcasts and try to do yourself. You know what Spotify's doing with podcasts? Universal won't let y'all get y'all shit back, that y'all could ever own it, that y'all could do deals directly with Spotify. And y'all don't want to cut y'all reach off because y'all be like, well, I still want to put my shit on iTunes. No, you're not going to be on iTunes. You're only going to be on Spotify. Are you cool with it? No, I want it everywhere. I want it on YouTube. Come on now. Do you want the money or not? Joe Rogan's he's happy with his shit only being on Spotify. I am too. Do you want the money or do you want to be everywhere? And do you own your shit? Because when you own your shit, you could do a lot with it. Little tutorial, a little information about the whole Joe Rogan and Spotify thing. It's a witch hunt for him. I'm not gonna be here sitting and defending him on everything that comes out. But again, I do feel like he is fighting a fight against cancellation, and I'm firmly against that. Because there's people when they can't control your voice, people when they can't control your platform, people when they feel threatened by it, they will come up with anything. And by the way, nobody's perfect. We all got something. I guarantee my platform get too big. You know what they'll say? Let's keep bringing up War Chirac. Yo, he built this off the backs of the dead kids in Chicago. When did that narrative get popular? It's when people see you're elevating. It's a way to try to bring you back. But we've seen cancellation work so much that when you see a few examples, like when you see Dave Chappelle could sit there and he's literally telling the LGBTQ plus community, I am not going to fucking apologize because I did not say anything that was that offensive and anything that was based in prejudice or discrimination. And I think the mere fact that he's refusing to bow down, refusing to get scared of the cancellation, and the company he's with is backing him, has changed the game. I support Netflix, I support Spotify, and I support any other outlet who will not bend to the mob. Because this is all it is, if you ask me. All right, chat. Thank you guys, and I hope this was a pretty productive stream for y'all. I gave y'all a lot of shit. Yeah.